Is this thing running? Is it on? Oh. I got wine upstairs. Oh, you don't want to add with election stuff. You don't want to be drinking.
Yeah. Otherwise, I just brought a bottle up here. I can have some when I get home if I feel like it, but
well, I'm gonna set my timer.
Since I'm driving in the morning, I probably won't drink anything tonight.
Truggin'. I don't really know how that song goes. So.
I don't even know what song it is.
It's Grateful Dead.
So, I've never been a big Dead fan.
All right, timer is running for that camera. Can you look in the mirror? Am I good in that camera? Because I can't see it.
I can't even see it.
Are you blind?
Pretty much, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you look like you're in the
I think I'm in frame.
Yep.
It's focusing on you, so we'll take it.
Yep, you're in the frame.
I'm going to top off.
You say it's definitely hard to see with like this light. Like
it
right
is.
here.
Well, and I kind of changed the light a little bit because I didn't want it flat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I wanted it to look a little more dramatic. Oh, we got one more to kick on. So I'm getting...
Did you start the recorder?
Oh, yeah.
So we're not doing like we've done before.
Yeah, we're all going.
I kind of forgot about that light too.
Get some color.
There you go.
Now we're good. So we appear to be good. So
right.
Everything looks good. We got new artwork hanging up. The cord is now behind there.
Oh, sweet.
I may or may not have messed up the button when trying to. Well, so I'm drilling. I'm drilling through this $100 board, and you got to have a pretty big hole because that thing's got a. It's got a
massive switch on it.
So it's got the switch to turn it on, off, and then raise the exposure, make it brighter or not brighter. So that's why. But it looks better, and that's what I wanted. I just wanted it.
It looks good. It's not like a cord just dangling out of the middle of.
Well, yeah, and that was kind of driving me nuts having that there in the frame.
Yep.
So, and now it's not there, and we got more artwork hung up. So,
say too bad it wasn't like right out of the middle type of a thing where you could have just like drilled. Right.
Yeah, and I'm slightly off centered. Doesn't really matter.
That's just nitpicking it.
I
was gonna say you're probably the only one that'll ever notice that.
Well, it's try to get this since we had, we basically tore the entire studio down to go up to Spencer. So
yep.
But
yeah, 'cause we had all 4 mics and 2 recording sets.
So I want to get if we do stuff like that up there again, I'll buy 2 more of these. Mm-hmm. So that way we're all in the same thing, and then we got to get everybody because like Chris got good about keeping the mic close,
right?
And Derek was back, but it's like while you're filming and while you're doing it, you don't want to just stop and be like, stop the entire flow of the conversation and be like,
right.
Can you pull that closer to your mouth?
That's what happened the one time. Like you're like, I got to go grab something. And then Chris is like, oh, I'm going to go get some coffee. Yeah. Anybody want any coffee? And I'm like, that just totally like killed everything.
The whole flow of everything just stops.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is, what is it? The 8th? Today's the 8th?
Yep.
It's the election day.
We're
not going to talk about any of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get political on any of that. Believe whatever you want to believe, and
there you go.
Follow whoever you want to follow. None of my fucking business. But
vote for what's right for you and your family.
That's right.
And I'll do the same.
Yeah, you do you. I'll do me. Just like Kirk Hart's song
there
says.
There you
go. But so everybody happy Tuesday or whatever day this is going to come out. It's probably going to be Wednesday or Thursday that this thing actually drops. But everybody, welcome back to my basement. We're back from Spencer, and we've had a few days off. Mm-hmm. And been doing a bunch of things, but welcome to Exposed. I'm Tim.
I'm Jason.
And we are happy to have you here today. So Jason is drinking water, and I am drinking
whiskey,
ginger beer and whiskey. So this would be a Kentucky Mule without the lime, because what the hell? I don't need the lime.
I know you had mentioned some things you wanted to talk about, and I had some things. But
if you got something, that's great. Otherwise, we can start. I know I'm going to talk about the big thing in the last week with me was, well, so everybody, well, not everybody. So my middle daughter's pregnant, mm-hmm. and they wanted Highland cows as part of the decoration of the baby's room. Mm-hmm. So, Dad, I need a picture of a Highland cow because I don't want anybody else's picture. I want your picture. So, which is cool. I mean, that's totally what I like, you know.
Yep.
So the other day I get on and I start Googling trying to find, because I know where there's some Highland cows around here. The last time I saw them, it was muddy. You know, their hair was a little ratted and stuff.
Yep.
So I was like, I don't want to go to them. So then I get online. I start just searching it up. Found some in Panora, found some in southeast Iowa, and then I found this kid in Emmitsburg, and he's actually a high school senior that's raising these the Highland miniature cattle. Okay. So they're not full size. I think the bull to his shoulder is 39 or 40 inches tall. So he's not, well, he's a little height at the table, maybe a little higher. And
so about the size of like mini bucking bull or something like that.
Yeah, kind of like a mini one. But I mean, they still got the big horns and all that other stuff. But so I called this kid, and he was in school. He's like, hey, I'm in school. Can I call you when I'm done? I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I thought maybe he was in college or something.
Right. Yeah.
So he called me at like 1:00, and he said, yeah, I'm back, and so if you want to come up, you know, we kind of made an agreement. I'm like, I will either pay to shoot on your property because these are going to be for sale.
Right.
You know, or we can figure out something. And he goes, I just want the images to share on my Facebook page and on my website stuff. I'll say, cool.
Done.
If that's what you want, then absolutely. So I went up there. Oh man. So he called me at 1:00. I was there by 2:15, and I stayed until like 4:30. And one of the first things that he asked me, he's like, how big a lens do you have? So I have a 600 with me, but I don't want to use it because it is one of the cheapest lenses that I have, and the quality is not exactly.
Especially when you start getting to the ends of that, that's where the quality really starts dropping off.
Well, it's just, you know, it's hard. You can have a 45, 60 megapixel camera, and if you have a shitty lens on it, it degrades the image so much that everything just becomes kind of fuzzy. And so the first thing I did was put the 150 to 600 Sigma lens on. Because I was close and they knew I was there. Like I hiked, I hiked in. They were out in their own pasture, lots of grass, no mud. I mean, it was great. The kid takes really good care of these things. And so I get out there and I'm kind of ducked behind a massive tree, getting my bag unpacked, getting stuff set up, trying to figure out what I need. And I just immediately start with the 150 to 600. I punch it out to 600 and I take a photo of the bull looking at me. And I'm like, okay, well, they know I'm here. Let's see what we can do, right? And so I slowly started working my way towards them, just really slow movements, nothing fast. And they just kind of chilled, right?
Yep.
They kind of ran around a little bit, but then they just kind of looked at me and they kind of watched me. So I went kind of away from where they were, up this little embankment behind some trees, and they all just kind of watched me as I moved. You know, they were just keeping a pretty good eye on me, which
they knew you were there.
They knew I was there. So anyway, I get up there, I get set up. They're kind of looking at me, and then they just got comfortable with me. So I took the big glass off because I didn't want to shoot with it, and I've got the 2x converter for the Z mount stuff. So I put that on the 7200 lens that I have.
Okay.
And I started with that, and I actually got some really good stuff right away. Nothing that was like print worthy yet,
right? Yeah,
but it just started getting.
But you're working there, and it kind of gets you in that flow, and it's the same way like. If I go out and do street, it's kind of, you know, frames to burn type of a thing.
Right.
You know, it's just getting that brain starting to think, let go of, you know, oh, I got to call this person or this person's needing this or, you know, get in that creative mindset.
Yeah, I always say get warmed up.
Right. Yep.
Right. Yep. Get warmed up.
It's stretching.
Yeah, basically. So I'm figuring out, you know, I brought one tripod with a ball head and now, you know, I'm like, well, we'll try this. We'll see how all this works. And, so I kind of start in realizing I wish I'd have brought a stool because I'm on the ground because I want to have I don't want to be above them for photos.
Right.
I don't want to be looming on them because I want them to be as comfortable with me as possible. So I want to just stay low and as less of a threat to them. Right. So I'm photographing it after about an hour. So the main picture that I really love, and I got so many photos of just the one cow, and she probably got within 8 feet of me.
Okay.
And which is all I need. And so then I took off, I'd already taken off the teleconverter and I went just to the 7200. And then I was like, you know what? I've got this 28 to 75 in my bag.
Mm-hmm.
And you always hear about people doing wildlife photography with elephants and stuff. And if you can photograph them close with a wide angle,
right,
it just gives them this bigger than life
mm-hmm.
appearance, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe I can try this. So I stick the 28 on, and I'm out at 75 with it, and I'm like, I want to be closer. So I literally laid down on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like crawling on my shoulders to get up there, and she's just watching me. And then, so I'm actually able to hold it. And that's the beauty of the mirrorless, is that you can kind of hold it up, see what you're framing.
You're not having to look through that viewfinder
and photograph it. And then, so I got within 5 to 6 feet of her. And then if I stretched my arm out, I was even closer.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I did that, she took a step back.
Right.
And I said, okay, I've pushed her as far as I can. Cool. I appreciate you. I'm going to
back up a little
shimmy
bit.
back,
Yep.
And because, and I'm crawling on the ground, and my phone has fallen out. So
Mm-hmm.
like, if she decides that she's going to toss me around, I don't even have a phone to grab to call somebody. Right. So I crawl back to where my tripod is. And, I set back up on the tripod, and I start photographing some of the black cow.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got like the most gorgeous bangs, if you want to call them bangs on a cow. Right.
Right. Yep.
And so, I'm photographing her, and then the bull is behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 of them out there. One's a young one, one's a full grown one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's kind of working his way up towards me. I'm like, all right. And I know he's the bull. He's got the proper gear.
Right. Yep.
And so he's working his way up to me. And so I start just concentrating on him. The problem was, I'm trying to get a photo of him, but there's so much going on in the background. There's different cows, there's stuff, and I kind of want them on their own.
Yep. It was just a little too busy.
I kind of want to give a portrait of the cow is really what I was going for. A proper portrait,
yes.
Not with a group, like a proper portrait. And so he comes from behind me all the way around to the side, and he gets real close, and he's probably 7 feet, 8
Mm-hmm.
feet. I've got a video of it. And because I'm like, he is right there. So I'm like, okay, 28 time again. Boom. Get down, crawl up, and I'm holding the camera, and he comes. So this is my camera, right? He comes right down to it. His nose is like on the camera.
He's checking it out.
So he's more comfortable with me. So then he backs up a little bit. I come back, and I played around with having the 135 because I brought various lenses. So I played around with the 135, and I got one really tight shot of one of the cows, and
Mm-hmm.
trying different focal lengths because this is the first time that I've had a chance to do this.
Something like that, right? Yeah.
So he comes around. So he went from behind me to beside me to now he's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm facing south. And he decides, okay, I'm really comfortable now. I'm coming up to see this guy. And so he comes up, and he's just walking up to me,
Mm-hmm.
and he stops, and he's about 2 feet short of my tripod, and he starts tapping the tripod he turns with his horns, and he starts tapping the tripod.
Yep.
I don't know this guy, right? I've
Uh-huh.
never been around this bull, and I'm like, okay, I think it's time to get the bag zipped up.
Just in case it's time
Just
to go.
in case I have to zig and zag and get behind a tree, right? And so he literally comes right up. I grab the tripod, and I hold it in between us. So I'm like, hey, bud, love you too. I don't know what you're going to do, because I'm used to typical wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an elk or a moose come up that close, you're fixing to get
Right.
probably hurt.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like,
came too close. at that point.
even just regular bulls and cattle. I'm just like, okay, I don't know that. I'm like, all right. So I get my stuff, and I kind of shimmy back a little bit, and he backs up.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I went back down the embankment. They took off walking, and I just got away from them because I did not want to invade their space. I didn't want them to be uncomfortable with me. And the next time I go back, I want them to be like,
Yep.
they see
He's
me,
no big
they
deal.
know it's no big deal. And grab some more photos. And I was talking to Carson. Carson? I think it's Carson. And it doesn't sound right. Anyway, I was talking to the kid that owns them, and he's really friendly. He was just curious, and I'm like, well,
now you know.
now I know, right? And because he was totally willing to help, but I told him, I said, well, I've got I've got a Z9 coming back from Nikon, which mine's not coming back, but they sent me a loaner. And then I've got the 100 to 400 coming and the 24 to 70 S lens. So I'm like, I want to get those, and then I want to go back out there and try it again. Yep. And then I told him, I said, after that, when it snows, if we get a good snow, I want to come and do it again and get them with snow. So that was the experience of, what day did I do that? Friday?
Something like that.
I think it was Friday.
I can't remember.
It was last week, the other day. I don't even know what day it is anymore, right? Everything just blends together. But, put those up, had a lot of people, they're like, oh man, I want to buy something. So I edited a bunch and I put them up and nobody's bought anything.
Yep.
And we talked about this the other day. They're like, oh my God, I want it. And so I copyrighted them and I stuck them up because, otherwise people just screenshot them or they steal them off Facebook and then they go to Walmart and print them.
And then they print them super cheap.
So
anyway,
I dumbed down the image, like the images on Facebook, like you can save them.
Right.
But
the ones I post are 3 megapixels now.
Yeah. Oh, mine are smaller than that. They're like 250 kilobytes.
Right.
And then they're at a 72 DPI resolution. They're small. And then I put a copyright on them.
Right.
Because some places still check for that.
I got to the point where, and we've talked about this before, I don't even post, like, the amount of images of mine that people don't see.
Right.
I bet it's 99% of the images I take never get seen. Now they will, hopefully someday. That's the plan. I've got several different projects that, long-term projects that I'm kind of working towards. I haven't talked about them in public with, many other people. But, my goal is some different book projects and print projects, and then, hopefully have an exhibition with them and start selling them type of prints. Several different ones I have, they're different subject matter, and so they can kind of go in various directions. But it's, my photography's definitely changed over the years too. But when you were talking about, how you approach the animals, and I did listen to one wildlife guy one time, and it was either him or somebody he knew, but it was that same sort of deal. But he was photographing, I think it was bighorn sheep in the mountain. But he was spending like weeks out there with them. And it got to the point, this one herd, he'd follow him for 5 days, and then he would go back home, get all ready, and then he'd come back and do it again for 5 days. Well, this herd got so used to seeing him all the time that when they would move from spot to spot, they would actually wait for him to pack his gear. And then when he started walking, then they would walk too. But they actually would consider him part of the herd then, and they would not leave until he left.
Oh, that's great.
And so he was able to get right in amongst them. They were very comfortable. But that's that long-term project that's working at something. And especially when you start talking wildlife, and granted this, isn't wildlife, but it's still a wild animal.
It's still a wild animal.
I mean, you cannot predict what it's.
They're not domesticated, and he had said that. He's like, and he was working on building a spot for them. Because they have quite a few acres that they get to roam on their own.
Right.
And he's like, I need to tame them a little bit.
Right.
For when people come, because he sells them, he breeds them and sells them, and. So, I kind of got to see what he was working on stuff. And the kids smart. And I was just really impressed at how well he took care of them because they weren't in mud. They had really nice pasture.
I was going to say, they look like they're ready to be presented at like,
well, they had
like a 4-H competition.
They weren't. Now, in the images, I cleaned up some stray grasses and stuff that were in there.
Which you're gonna have from their eating
But it was like, there was one, and I should put like one of the images up and she like the whole time she's staring at me and she's got this big old straw like a cowboy,
just hanging out the side of the mouth,
just looking at me. And she's got that hanging out of her mouth. So that was rather entertaining, but. It was really cool to be able to go do that. And so now, and I guess before I did that, I would kind of wanted to try to find a way to get to Jackson, Wyoming and go spend a week photographing. So it's, I was able to get on the list with Nikon to get this 100 to 400. And I really want to try that. Plus using the teleconverter because I would like a wildlife lens. I don't want to invest the kind of money it takes to get into some of those. Now they have some less expensive glass, less expensive to you and me and less expensive to the average person or two different things, like, like a $3,500 piece of glass that would work for wildlife. They have the 400 4.5 that you can put a teleconverter on, so then you can have either 800 or 600 or like 560 if you use like the 1.4. So like there's some benefits there. I can pick up one more teleconverter and then I essentially have 3 lenses. So that's what I'm considering. And the 100 to 400 has been presented. You're like, just try it. Just try it. It's it goes from a 4.5. Instead of being a 4.5, it's a 5.6 at 400. So, if I crank it out, with the 2X converter on, it's 800, but it's an F11 or 11.2.
And it depends on what time of the day you're going to be shooting it in. If you're midday and you're going after wildlife, and the ISO capabilities of these cameras nowadays are pretty impressive. Like you can, run that up.
And that's the funny thing about. So I got my D3100 out the other day, and it goes 100 to 3200 ISO, and then after 3200, then it goes to high.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because I think my current cameras hit high ISO at 51,000 or something now.
Mine's, I think, even higher.
It's
than that,
crazy, right? So, but as I watch, especially Morton Hilmer, which I really just enjoy watching his YouTube channel and everything that he does.
He's easy to watch, easy to listen to. Like, he's just calm and collected, and he really thinks out like what he's wanting to shoot and get done that day.
Yeah, and he's a world-renowned wildlife photographer, Nikon ambassador, and you'll look and he'll be at 3200 ISO, and he'll be so it makes you feel better that these professionals will run this high.
Right, yeah.
Of an ISO setting, because so many people in so many of these photography groups and online, they're like, oh my God, there's grain. I'm like, so what?
Right.
So what? It's okay.
And there's software to get rid of some of that grain too. But as technology improves too, that grain isn't what it used to be. Some of these camera companies are building in better looking noise than what it used to be.
That's a great way to put that.
It's more aesthetically pleasing than something that is very annoying.
Right.
Because I can compare some of the first cameras that I had compared to the cameras that I have now. The noise has a whole different look to it. And I can trust it, to run it up there.
Right.
I find the effects of too little ISO has more damaging capabilities to that imaging than a higher ISO or a proper, ISO. I've found that with my camera anyway. I don't know if it's that way with all cameras.
So I think it is. And I still have a tendency to underexpose. Because it was always ingrained, like, keep it low, keep it low, keep it low.
And that's the way I was taught, too. When, when we both got started at the same time, that was the, shoot a stop or two under.
Well, if you,
recover more in the shadows with shooting.
Because I'm totally an exposed to the left, and then you're an exposed to the right guy. And that's how we have grown differently. And
mine switched at the time I started shooting film.
Right. It's only been within like the last year and a half.
That's when it switched for me, because when I shot all my landscape stuff, that's the way I shot. And it was always about preserve the highlight, preserve the highlight, preserve the highlight. And that's the one thing that you get to, and we've covered before, talking, your lower expenditure gear compared to your higher expenditure gear. The one thing that you're getting is not the improved image, but your dynamic range and stuff like that. It's giving you more options to be able to produce them better images. It allows me to get closer in camera to that final result.
Yeah.
Where I can record that information. If I wanted a little on the brighter side, or if I wanted a little bit on the darker side, I can expose close to where I want it and then tweak it just a little bit at that point.
Right.
But that's also the difference in, our looks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's going to bother me.
Where did the hell?
I have no idea. It just showed up.
It crawled out of that wood, man.
Probably. But yeah, it's as the equipment changes, and equipment is changing so fast right now. I really think anybody wanting to invest in newer equipment, they really need to spend that time and ask themselves, what is it that I'm needing out of this new equipment? And that's definitely what you have to decide when you start investing. And just like we were talking earlier, somebody said, on your one post, welcome to Canon.
Yeah.
And
Canon
I'm not,
welcomes you, and I'm like, and I'm not a brand guy.
Right. But you're heavily invested in Nikon.
I'm heavily invested in Nikon. I love the system. I love how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason to change it because it has not left me anywhere.
Right.
Right. Any big mistakes have been Tim's mistakes and not Nikon's mistakes.
And that's most of this camera gear. Anybody that's, strictly a fanboy and they're like, oh, the best camera is this. And I can make a better image with my cameras than I can yours, and it has nothing to do with the camera. It just has to do with how I see that image through your camera.
I don't know.
It's
a Fuji medium format.
But it's if I got used to using a Nikon,
right.
I could use that camera just as good.
Right.
Technically it's all the same. It's just the buttons are in different places.
Well, and I know. So on that note, I know you had talked about seeing if you could get your Canon T6 back, at least to shoot with.
Yeah, I want to get it back to shoot with and just compare the differences.
Because I got my D3100 off the shelf the other day, charged up the battery, put a 35 mil on it. No, it's the equivalent of roughly a 50.
Yep.
And because I wanted to, and I have a 15 and 85 that I can use with it. And so when you get that, or if we just borrow somebody else's Canon, I would like to just go shoot and film it. Just like we could just take and we could go out and we could either take. So for me, I'm always like, I want to get people, and you're like, I want to go shoot street, right?
Right. Yep.
And maybe we do a little bit of both.
Right. And just run it through the paces and just.
And I'll take my 14-year-old camera out and I had to get it out and get familiar with it again. I'm like, where's the ISO? Where's the f-stop? And I know where the shutter is.
Yep.
But I laughed because I grabbed it and I'd taken it upstairs and I had it on manual because I was messing with some things. Melanie grabs it and she points it at me and the flash pops up. I go, you changed the setting on that. She goes, I switched it to auto because the flash just popped up.
Yep.
And I just chuckled about that. But that is definitely something that we're gonna have to do this winter, is go out and do some different types of photography with the old gear and the small gear, and just compare it to actually seeing what the difference in taking your time with one piece of equipment. Now, the newer equipment makes your life easier because it just does things better and faster.
Yep.
But so there's some advantages to all of that, but I just kind of want to prove to people that I can take a good photo with a cheap camera. Yeah. And the other thing that I was talking to somebody about, because we were talking about photography stuff, and I said, I can take really good portraits in a gas station if you give me a few minutes. Like, just let me set it up. Like, we can take good portraits. And look at Britton Hackey in Sioux City. Dude, Chinese grocery stores, gas stations,
all over the place,
and he is proof that you can make good portraits and good pictures anywhere. Yep. And people just don't understand that. But what do you got on your list for today? Otherwise, we'll just ramble.
I just kind of had one little deal, and it kind of fell into kind of what we were talking about. Even you going in photographing the cows, and that is what are ways you get around creative block? Because I know this time of year, a lot of people start running into creative block. Lights changed. We start running into a lot more gray days. There's not days. Leaves on the trees. So we're getting in that time of the year where a lot of people start struggling, and cameras start going on shelves, and then they start sitting.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my question is, what are you doing, especially this time of year? Now that portrait seasons are slowing down, you're starting to get some free time.
Yeah.
As a professional photographer and a photographer enthusiast, what are you doing to combat that creative block.
So right now, okay, so the creative side of things for me is okay as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I do find myself, because I basically went from 100 miles an hour
Yep.
to 5.
Right.
And so like the last week, I had a session yesterday. I did not have any at all this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Which everybody's like, man, it must, you finally get to relax. I'm like, kinda. So I'm like, but my mind is still going 100 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
And just because I'm physically only going 5 right now. So like I actually get, I get grumpy.
Mm-hmm.
I get depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I should be shooting. I should be shooting.
Right.
So the cows the other day was a really nice thing, because I'm like, okay, what things do I want to do
Mm-hmm.
that I have not had the time for?
Right.
So like the other day was literally sitting in a field with cows for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so good even if I didn't, because Melanie's like, did you get any good pictures? I go, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
It wasn't about the images.
I got 3 that I would print, which to me, coming away from that, if I got 1, I would have been happy.
That's a good day.
And if I get, usually in a year, if I can get a few pictures that I want to put on my wall, I'm doing really, really good.
Right. Yep.
And that's not either my family or my dogs.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's nothing with a sentimental value. To
Right.
it.
So it's something that I'm connected with. Right. So that is the one thing that I'll do, is I'll find time to go do something that I've wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, I've been kind of reorganizing my stuff, right? Getting that, trying to plan a trip or two. But the other thing and it was completely not photography related, is that, so I had to go to Kylie's today to do I had to fix a dresser and put up a smoke detector, carbon monoxide thing.
Detector, yeah.
And so went over to do that. And for the last 5 months, I have been nonstop. So like when I get to see Amara, I don't get to just roll around on the floor with her, because I don't get to be grandpa. So today I did a few things, and then I just hung out on the floor, and I put the finger things on, the little sharks and everything on my fingers, and we hung out. And because that's the one thing, and I always joke, I'm like, she doesn't like me. Well, Timmy, you haven't spent much time with her because you're busy. My busy season is 5 to 6 months long, where it's just nonstop. And my kids all understand that, and I didn't do it until my kids were older. Well, now I have a grandbaby. Well, she loves Melanie, because Melanie gets to spend more time with her. So that's one of my things, is I'm like, I'm going to spend more time with her, which will take my mind off not shooting.
Right.
Because sometimes it's okay to put the camera on a shelf for a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
And
I think some people need to, and hit that reset. And there's definitely times that I myself need to put down the camera and remember to look first and shoot second.
Right.
And photography is more about pushing a button. One of my favorite quotes that I read, and it made so much sense when I read it, is photography is more about what you don't take a picture of than what you do.
How many times do you go somewhere and people are like, you didn't take a picture of stuff? And you're like, no, I just enjoyed it.
Right. Yep.
It's okay to go enjoy things and not photograph it.
I'll tell some people, like, sometimes, and it might be a banger of a sunset or something like that. Maybe the foreground's not right, and I just sit down and this is for me. And that was one of the nice things too about landscape stuff. The work was finding the composition and then waiting. And a lot of times you're locked off on a tripod. You set it there. And, it was just a great time just to reflect on life and just be there in that moment. And, especially, for somebody like me, some of the stuff I was doing, you were in a lot of these locations by yourself.
Right.
And, phones shut off or it's not getting reception. And, you're in the mountains or desert or any various places. So it was, kind of unnerving if something, bad were to happen, being out there by yourself. But at the same time, you have them moments that become more magical because there is nobody else there and there's nothing else coming in. One of my favorite memories that I've had in photography was the one night going to sleep in Arches National Park. And this was my very first year in photography. And I took that solo trip by myself. I think it was 3,500 miles, 10 days. Just sleep in the vehicle, and that's what a lot of people don't understand when I travel. I'm staying in a vehicle. It has nothing to do with comfort. Them photos come first, and some people have seen that firsthand. I've traveled all parts of the country in the back of a Mustang, sleeping. And I'm a 6 foot tall guy.
And it's a packed Mustang.
It's not it's loaded down with camera equipment and film and analog. But that specific trip, my first one, I woke up, I think it was 3:00 in the morning, and I got out, and I went to bed early because it was like a windstorm. So it was almost like a sandstorm. Everything's coming off of the desert floor and off the red rocks, and you're just getting pelted. So I decided to go to sleep. I wasn't going to make any images. All I was going to do is either damage equipment or just fill my eyes with dust. So I woke up at 3:00 in the morning, and I'd seen some people leaving on the trail ahead of me. So I waited about a half hour, got ready, and I walked out, and it's crystal clear blue night. Your eyes have adjusted already, so you can see stars just everywhere. So I walked I think it's 2.5 miles or whatever, in the dark with nothing but a headlamp on. And sometimes you just take the headlamp and click it off, or you're doing long exposures and stuff, and you're just out there, by yourself. There's nothing else around, and it's scary and magical all at the same time. And
it's kind of like I said the other day. You just learn to enjoy the quiet because the world is noisy.
Right. Yep.
And so I've been now today when I was editing, I had music going, but. And I think that's what we, just as a society, we all need to learn to enjoy the quiet once in a while. Put the camera away, put the cell phones away, and the cell phone's a hard thing, and we're all addicted to it. Some more than others.
The cell phone's the biggest distraction that we have anymore.
Right. So. But it's, just learning to enjoy the quiet. And so that's something I'm trying to get, back in my head. Tim, just relax, enjoy the quiet. Just enjoy the peace right now.
Yep.
Because the joke has always been, I've had 2 full-time jobs since I can remember. I've always worked 2 jobs, and right now I'm not.
Right.
So it's, I've made a pretty good go at this. I'm scared to death of 2023 because I'm not fully booked, which you're not supposed to be going into it, and, or that's what they say, I don't know who the fuck they are, but they say a lot of shit, but, I've always got stuff going on in the back of my head. And then I'm always working on other, part of my quiet time, or when I'm not like working, is working on business instead of in business. Right. So like I've got the one brand, the one product that we're working on right now that I'm hoping is going to get here soon. And that way we can start showcasing that and showcasing some other things that we've got coming up, or I've got coming up, that you get to be the sounding board on. To fill my time when I'm not photographing as an entrepreneur, I'm trying to find other ways to generate income to either work less or continue to work the same amount and just be able to save and provide and do all that other stuff, because I've been the hustle guy for forever. I mean, hence the sign, the hustle. I mean, that I am a hustling son of a bitch. And, my sister calls me a serial entrepreneur. And I said, I don't know about that. I said, I'm a really good mechanic, and I always said before I wasn't the greatest businessman. And I'd actually talked to somebody the other day, and they said, you got to quit saying that. You need to manifest what you want to be. Right. And some of that stuff gets a little hokey to me, but whatever. And I kind of listened to her and I talked, I kind of ran that through my head and I go, she's right. I'm a way better business guy than I give myself credit for.
Right. Yep.
So, instead of talking down to myself, I'm going to talk up to myself, and I am going to try to make a go at making some things better and bigger, and being able to hire more people and, be able to at some point be able to, if you wanted it where you were 6 months a year, you just worked for me, or you were contracted, or so you can make more money, and we can, I can hire designers and stuff, because there's stuff that I want to do. And now I need somebody to show me the ropes on some of this stuff, because there is some legit products that I want to create and make. Now I need to find the right people to help me with all of that. So, it goes with Tim, it's going from enjoying the quiet or utilizing the quiet to, to drown out the noise of the day and to be able to move forward with business stuff. And my brain doesn't work like everybody else's does. Like my brain just doesn't shut off. My brain, and people give me a lot of shit. Like, man, you work all the time. Like, cause I was talking to Scott yesterday and they're doing a Broken Strings event next week.
Okay.
And I go, why haven't you called me to go to these? Well, you're busy. I go, and you have to call. Like, I have a schedule, and that I think sometimes that's why I end up not being as booked as I would like to be sometimes, is that people just think you're too busy to do it. And that's where I got to put it back out in the universe going, hey, I'm still here. Please hire me. Like, just because I look super busy does not mean I'm super busy. There's a lot of shoots. Sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 in a day. And then when it comes to slow season, everybody thinks I'm still going great guns. I'm like, no, you want to send me that message, And and I told Scott, I'm like, you have to, if you just ask me, I'm like, you're doing it in the middle of the day during the week. I usually have time
during the week,
so the next one's on Monday. And, cause I was like, well, I'll be there, I was like, you have to talk to me. Cause I said, I thought we were going to make some videos for this. Oh, we were, but you've been busy. Well, just because I haven't worked on something like, well, he'd sent me a bunch of files that somebody else filmed. He's like, can you make me a video for this? And I don't like to use other people's stuff. Right. I mean, they've been
for
given
a lot
to
of
him.
Different reasons.
There's a lot of reasons. It is what it is, but I mean, I will, I'm trying to get the last, by Thanksgiving, all the photos are going to be delivered for the year. We're going to be down to 2 or 3 videos, and they will all be done by the end of December. And that way, when we go into the new year, then everything's done. So, but yeah, that was a really long explanation of what I do when when everything turns brown and gray and everything else like that. I try to shift into business mode a little bit, and also sit down with Melanie and watch Netflix or
have some downtime with your family.
Go see Amara and Kylie, and and go do some of these things that have been neglected. And I've got some stuff coming up with McKenna and Cole that we're helping them out with, and I just trying to give them a good kickstart on things, and so I've got plenty of stuff to keep me busy. Right. But in the in between times, I'm trying to enjoy the quiet.
Right. Yep.
So,
and I think creatively too, we all have to have that downtime. I am one that creatively, like, the more I get hit with creative stuff, the more creative I get. I keep wondering if, at some point there is a burnout, and I'm sure there probably is. But in the last few years, it's just like I can't get enough knowledge and enough information. I can't get it fast enough.
I think burnout's used too much. I think it's used as a crutch on a lot of people.
And it could be.
Because I don't like, because I hated to interrupt you on this, but like that word burnout is, and I made a TikTok about this. I don't get burnout. I get tired, but I don't get burnout because, I think burnout is a crutch, and there's going to be people that crucify me for saying this. You can get tired and you need to take a break, but I think the word burnout's used entirely too much. And like, I know there's time you shoot way more than I do on some off days. You'll go crank out 12 hours.
Yeah, that's
in the street, because I know you said that. You're like, hey, we go to Des Moines, we shoot for 12 hours. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun to me. It does not sound entertaining at all.
That's my day off. That's what I enjoy doing. But, that's the type of stuff that I do that makes me who I am as a photographer. And I know that's going to get me to be that photographer that I want to be. I am nowhere near that photographer that I want to be. Certain people might classify me in a certain league wherever, it don't really matter. At the end of the day, I'm in competition with myself all the time. Right. And, I know if them images are getting better, if they're not. I highly believe that people need to look not only at their current work, but their previous work. Don't delete that work. I still go over images that I took my first year.
Dude, I've got stuff from 2003.
Yeah, and I don't have stuff back quite.
I have
that
all my
old to
digital.
look
Like I
through,
literally
but,
I just backed up all my digital.
but I think that's important as well. And like we were talking, with some of them cameras that we started with, going back and reshooting with them. I think that just proves when you can go through them files, like where you're at, photographically now compared to where you were back then. But just even the way you edit a file, the way you treat a file, even images from my landscape images from Oregon or Colorado or Arizona, I'll go back and re-edit them because my style choices have changed. The way I want to see them colors have changed. The memories of, oh, I thought it felt like this or it looked like this or maybe, a little bit different now. So now that them thoughts and them feelings from that have, maybe subsided a little bit and I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, what's it look like and feel like to me today?
Right.
And, it's different. And I think creatively everybody needs to, definitely be going over and through that older stuff. But as well as getting the camera out of their hands and learning something new or maybe a mindset or trying something, like going and shooting the Highland cows or, that's something that's completely out of your wheel set. You've been shooting some wildlife stuff over the last couple years,
right?
But it's nothing been that you major league pursued,
right?
And it's something that it interests you, and you'd maybe like to pursue it a little bit more in the future. But being you've made your career off of portraits, it's kind of nice to switch that mindset,
right,
and go in a different direction.
Well, it does get it's a good mental reset on everything, and but then I also look at whatever I'm photographing like a portrait.
Right. Yep.
Come on, twist your head just right. No, chin this way, right?
Right.
They're not listening, but and that's the way I guess I look at everything. And luckily, I'm fortunate enough that I pretty much shoot year round, so
Right.
I don't get quote unquote rusty. Now I know like when we went out and did like the rodeo, the little bit that we did, like the one that we actually went and did, and I attempted to shoot a little bit. Now you can get rusty not shooting a rodeo for a year.
Right.
I was like, oh boy.
Yeah,
Tim, you need some work on this. but it's sometimes you just have it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I've always, and I'm not tooting a horn, I'm not propping myself up, but I've always been able to make a portrait. When we first started with I went back from stuff from like 2011 and 2010. I'm like, and it's before I knew any of the rules.
Right. Yep.
But I'm following, I guess, the rules, which
when you start
sometimes
finding what some of the rules are,
but to me, there's a lot that, there's meant to be broken as well in some of those rules. But, and I have found, like when you see all the edits from the wedding that I just edited.
Okay. Yep.
You will see a lot of Jason influence in some of the getting ready shots and stuff. I got something I got to show you because as soon as we get done here.
And I've noticed that too, editing yours and the way your style's changed on some of that stuff. But a lot of my stuff's also been influenced by you too.
You're not taking family portraits from the ground.
but just even the way you handle things.
Right.
Some of the shots that you get, some of the cues that you give and the prompts, I learned from that as well. And like, we talked with Chris and letting secrets out and even though we know how each other works, what we're looking for, them cues, because we've talked about it.
Right.
Hence this is why we're doing this, is because we have these conversations regardless if these microphones go.
Yeah.
We had this conversation going an hour before the camera started rolling.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll probably go for an hour after the camera stopped rolling. We eat, sleep, and breathe photography and videography. And, it's our all day and every day. Do you need to switch that camera?
Nope, not yet. I'll check it.
But I think that's, that's the thing that we benefit from, that I think it's unfortunate that some other ones don't, is maybe they don't, how would I put this? They don't have a group or a clique or somebody they can bounce stuff off of. And they get in that echo chamber that's on social media, your Facebooks and Instagrams, that, you have to shoot it like this and you have to be this way or that way. I think there's an importance to learning the groundwork,
Right.
and building yourself a good foundation so you understand what has been done and what can be done.
Right.
And then learning how to do it, and then start breaking some of them rules.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that sometimes you got to go out and you got to break some of them rules, especially the compositional rules.
And that's I mean a lot of the rest of the stuff is suggestion, but composition is just what they're rules, but they're fundamentals because it's just how your eye bounces around an image.
Yep.
And I've got a couple from this wedding, and the one I really, really, really like, and you'll see it. I think you'll really like it. But, that's the fun part is learning everything, and then going, I know this is how it's supposed to be, but let's do it this way and see what the hell happens.
Yep.
And sometimes you create magic, and then it's, I don't want to say it's completely accidental, but it just gets you excited, right? So, because that's the one thing, like with us, talking about teaching stuff, and I'm really good with people and groups of people, and sometimes I'm less good because of situations or timing or pressure, and then there's some language that usually gets involved, but everybody's half drunk anyway. And so there's some of that just people just cannot mimic. But being able to put together a group of people, or how to shoot a reception that maybe is a really difficult thing, and so we got to change angles and shoot ways that we don't normally want to shoot. But you have to learn, you have to go through all the failures, because we both have to fail.
Oh yeah.
And be like, and the client in the end still loves the images, whether we think we failed
whether
or not.
we think that's a failed image or not. Some of the images that we have been like, oh, that's not
Dude,
that
they
great
love
image, and they just go bananas over it. But it's the same thing. You'll see images that you or I would see online and just go, we don't care for it, and then people just love the hell out of it.
Right.
So that's. It's just like any other art form. It's very, very subjective, but you definitely want to be pushing boundaries and trying. If you're not failing at some of your images, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
We have a lot more failed images than we have them that are just absolutely amazing. A lot of them don't come to light.
Well, it's when you go out to photograph something. And I usually try on every session to do something that's different, whether it's short lighting or anything like that, or a different pose position, body shape, whatever it is. I always try, and it's hard to understand me sometimes when I'm photographing, because when I'm photographing, I do not stop talking. Part of that is me. I'm a jabberjaw. I just go, right? Yep. Talking. Okay, I'm going to move this light. Okay, I'm feathering this light a little bit. They don't give two shits. They don't understand why I'm doing it. But I talk a lot, but I've had a lot of people say that you not shutting up brings a lot more people to ease, And so every time that I photograph somebody, I will literally say, I'm trying to learn you.
Right. Yep. The more you shoot somebody, the easier they are.
But some of these people, I get an hour. I get 45 minutes. I get half an hour. Okay, I have to learn you really fast. And they look at me funny. I'm like, no, I have to learn what's your side. Can you do? Because I go, there's some people, they can't look over their shoulder. There's some people that, and there's some people that have a very prominent side.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I will literally ask, what's your side? And what side do you like to have towards the camera? And I say, okay, never mind. I'm going to shoot both sides, and I will tell you, and then I can show you. And I'm not always right. And a lot of times, whatever side that they've been putting forward, try the other one, and it looks better. And some of that is just, it's less compositional, but it's as you learn. That's why I try to people. I'm trying to learn you. I'm trying to learn how you stand. Can you do this? Can you do that? You know, how many guys cannot squat? Blows my mind. And it's the kids. It's not the adult guys.
Oh yeah,
400-pound dudes.
Drop
they can
down
squat.
and-
They can squat. You get an 18-year-old kid that's 165 pounds,
falling over,
fall on his ass, wants to put his knee on the ground. I'm like, what on earth?
Yep.
And I don't know what it is, you know. And maybe it's just I've always had the right older
right
guys, right? You know, and I don't make, like, when it comes to family sessions and stuff, I don't make everybody squat. If they got a dog, they're squatting,
right?
Or
You're
they're
gonna
sitting,
get on eye level, or
because I want everybody to be at that level. And sometimes it doesn't work that way, but yeah, those are all the. How the hell did we get all the way down to squatting?
I have no idea. It's
We were
like
talking. We
most
went from compositions to. I think that was part of it, but yeah, I mean, so there's, you know, it's fun to go out and take what we know and then try what doesn't necessarily fit in the status quo and see what you can create out of it. So I know I'm looking forward to. Well, let me shift gears into what we have coming up. So we have the ball, or the gala
this weekend.
The gala's on Saturday.
We definitely need to mention that. So yeah, if anybody's wanting to show up, I forget what time, 7 o'clock maybe.
Yeah, it's like 7 on Saturday.
I meant to look that up. I mentioned that too.
So it's $10 at the door.
It might even be cheaper for a couple. Like
I don't know.
15.
I just know it was 10.
But
I thought it was $10, and it's, you know, there's a bar and there's
it's
the
for a
whole-
great cause.
Yeah.
Definitely come out.
Kirk Hart's playing the whole. So it's got the full band.
Yep.
So it'll be full live band, which will be badass to see.
Yep. Tim's gonna grab some video, I believe.
Yeah, we're gonna do video.
I'm gonna do
you're gonna do
some,
photo.
some candid, and set up a booth as well. Justin got a banner, and should be big enough. And so we'll shoot, you know, some individual pictures, some group pictures, you know, with your date, with your friends, whoever you're there with. If you want to grab a picture, it's not going to cost you anything. You know, if you feel like there's a need to donate, you know, I've had people ask me before, well, can we donate to you? Just donate to Justin. You know,
Right.
I am not there to make money. You know, if somebody's wanting to book a session in the future, we can definitely talk about that, but I'm not there that night to make money.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm just doing like just a highlight video of the night, and that way they've got it for next year for promotion and stuff. And then I'm just excited to be able to finally see Kirk Hart play as a band, because they've been doing it since May, and I've not had the chance to be there because it's been.
The only deal I
busy
seen
season.
was when they were at Newell, but it wasn't even the full band.
It was him and Jesse, and then Brady.
and that was it.
Yeah.
I think.
So, but yeah, so that's basically what we got going on this weekend. I have newborns on Sunday, and then I have another thing Sunday afternoon, which I can't really talk about yet until that happens. But yeah, and in the meantime, I have to go build a fence before the ground freezes. That sounds exciting.
I'm gonna be in the truck.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the other, you know, it's kind of getting to this time of the year there, you know, as we take our mind off photography and work and stuff, that we gotta, you know, because the income does slow down, so we have to jump in and we got to do some other things, which building a fence is not the worst thing in the world. It's a lot of just labor, and that's okay for me, because sometimes grunt work is the best work. It kind of gets your mind off everything.
Throw on a podcast and
I just turn on the music and work, and then
And see,
Paulie will be there, you know, and so we will berate each other for several days,
Right,
and just talk down to each other for, cause it's like we've done for the last 10 years,
Right.
and
but it's a couple friends hanging out, working together.
Yeah, we're just working.
and you know, sometimes work is the best. You know,
it's medicine, man.
so yeah, I you know, one of my creative things that I like doing is going down to the track at night
And
you know,
walking,
and
yeah.
when it's dark out, nobody can see me out there. And the thing I like about it, I throw on my headphones, I've got a weighted vest, and I just start walking the track. I'm not worried about traffic or anything like that. Not that there's huge amounts of traffic in Newell, but you know, somebody come rolling through town, you know, a little fast at night, I don't have to worry about that. You know, I throw on music or I throw on a podcast. And, you know, I've worked out a lot of shots in my head, or came up with a lot of shots in my head from them at times, just walking in circles. You know, some of my most creative time spent is not behind a camera, but it's getting ready.
It's planning it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shots that take a lot of planning, and it might be several years before you ever get that shot.
Right.
But it's thinking through, you know, if I am here or if I am there, or, maybe if I use this millimeter lens that I've never used before, what kind of shot, how would this look?
Right.
How would this look pointed up? How would this look pointed down? And
Yeah, you think way more about it than I do.
So yeah, I get pretty into that.
But like I've watched you like plan it and then go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and which is just something that I wish I could do, but I am super, ADD, and they call me like I have so many people, but like you're a squirrel. Like we just know that you're a squirrel. So this is what you do.
And I am until it gets into the art thing. I can't pay attention to 90% of what's going on through the day, but if it comes to photography or art, like I can lock in, and that's the one benefit I have when I go do street photography. Like for me to go to an 8 to 10 hour session is nothing. I might stop and eat, or stop and get a drink, or sit down and rest my feet for 20 minutes.
Dude, you'd be like, dude, I've been shooting for 12 hours. I still got to roll a film. I'll talk to you later,
So, and that's a very common thing for me to do. I have a couple trips. I've been trying to goat some people into going, and everybody's like, "Oh, that would be fun," but nobody's really bit yet. And,
everything's fun until it's time to go.
So I just usually go and do it. I've shot downtown Denver by myself, and I'll likely do that again. Chicago and Minneapolis are both on my list.
I want to go shoot downtown under the water in the Bahamas with some sharks this winter. That's what I want to do. So I don't know if that'll happen, but that's my downtown.
That was not a subject on my mind. But
well, see, and that's the cool thing is that we just have different things that we like to photograph. Mm-hmm. I want to go sit out in the snow and try to get some animals in the snow. And Melanie's going
too.
Melanie's going no, yeah. As you said, you're like I'm not going to if I go to do snow, I'm gonna have a board strapped to my feet.
Yep.
I'm not
gonna go sit in the snow if I'm out in the snow. I want a snowboard strapped to my feet, and I'll usually have a camera with me. I broke one last year. I broke the battery door off the one, but I take one with me every year I go, and it's a whole lot different. I'm not there for any landscape images. That's that's me and my guys out snowboarding. Two of them I've known for over 20 years.
Right.
And the one him and I have been school together since
it's your reset,
3rd grade or something.
It's your reset.
It's my chance to go do something that is outside of photography, but I include the photography with it.
Right.
But if I pull that camera out or if I don't, is not the end of the world.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys went to Colorado in Labor Day weekend? Yeah, it was Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
And you came away with like a dozen images.
Yeah.
Like you just didn't photograph. You just enjoyed the trip. I
carried a lot of damn equipment up that mountain though.
Yeah.
And but I know next time, and every time I take a hiking trip, I need more of this or I don't need this.
Right.
I carried 2 cameras with me. One was a medium format film camera and a tripod.
Right.
I definitely, from now on, I don't think I'll take a tripod with me. That extra weight just didn't warrant it. The digital was great for, I had X100V Fujifilm, perfect portable one. That's the one I take snowboarding with me. I broke the battery door off that one as well. It's just an all-around amazing camera. It's small, lightweight. I'll probably roll with that one anytime I'm backpacking. I can throw an Anchor battery.
Right, and you can just charge it directly.
Recharge it. Yeah. Like I can use that camera for a week straight and not worry about draining battery.
Well, and that's so I was. This back to the ball head versus video heads or whatever, and Morton Hilmer's he's got a couple videos explaining why you'd use one of each, and I was shooting with the ball head, and I was struggling because. I should have watched the video ahead of time, and how to use that ball head like a gimbal head. But then I strapped the video head onto my Manfrotto the other day, and that was, of course, my morning Snapchat spinning my camera. And you're like, Tim, that's how cameras hit the ground.
Right, you've bounced one a year
dumbass,
off.
So I was like, I really like this, and then I watched the ball head video, so that I'm looking at weight. So that's why. So for when I go and I end up having to tromp up into the mountains in the snow a little bit, I want to make sure that I'm only carrying what I need, and so it's going to be, unfortunately, I think I'm going to end up using the GoPro a lot because I want to do some talking head stuff while I'm photographing, and I really, really, really want to do a small camera. So I might end up bringing a Z30. and because they're super light.
Right. Yep.
And then, I can just put it on the
The
on the
lens
Gorilla
that's on there
Pod.
is so versatile.
Just
like,
that right there. And then, with the microphone, because you can actually get a windscreen for that microphone. If you're close enough, it sounds really, really good. It's got a nice stereo mic on it.
Mm-hmm.
But to have something like that, and probably just, I'm going to bring a little itty bitty tripod, and I'm bringing a Gorilla Pod so it doesn't weigh anything, because that weighs about as much as a damn GoPro.
Right. Yeah.
And so I have a talking head thing, and then I want to try to figure out what to bring, and because I know that 100 to 400 is stupid light.
Right. Yep.
So that with 2 different teleconverters, I'm like, that might just, because if you're at 400, 5.6, you put a 1.4 on there, so you're what, 8, and so you're f8. You can't get real crazy dark,
right?
But like you can get into dusk pretty good with that. And then by that time, if you're in the mountains, you're fucked anyway.
You don't want to be.
You better be getting the hell out of there,
right.
or you better have a campsite set up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's my plan. I'm going to try to figure that out. I want an ocean trip, and I want a mountain snow trip this winter. I don't know if they will both happen.
Right.
There's just so much going on in my life and my business life and stuff that I don't know if that's going to happen this winter, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Because there's always next winter.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, my season doesn't get real hot and crazy until May. And so I've got some other time that if we can make some stuff happen, then we'll make it happen, and we'll plan a few days to go away somewhere. So that's my winter plans. But my plans for this week is to go build a fence and go to a party on Saturday and see a whole bunch of people and have a good time, and watch my friend.
I'm looking forward to
watch
it.
my friends play music and photograph with one of my best friends and hang out with my wife and chit chat it up and laugh and just have a great
basically
time.
Be like being at a wedding, but we don't have to have fun.
We don't have like if we fuck up and we don't get exactly what we need, we're okay.
Right. Nobody's going to be really major league butthurt
Right.
if we don't have anything. And I mean, of course, we're going to come away with plenty of material.
Well,
for
we should have I always got a
and,
cell phone. Like if I break a camera again, I just think we need to. I will film people, but they'll think I'm taking pictures, so they'll just stand there, or they'll think we're videoing and you're taking pictures, and then they look like idiots. So, but that's always the funnest thing. They're like, and I'm like, I'm doing video. Don't just stand there. Oh, or they'll be like dancing in front of you, and you're like, I'm trying to take a photo. Oh, hold on.
Right. Yeah, I've had it so many times where. In the last wedding we did, the sister of the bride, she's coming walking up and she's dancing and she's thinking I'm taking a video, and I'm
That's
not.
that guy.
And,
That's that guy.
like,
It's the other one, the one with the
wrong
microphone
camera.
on the camera. Oh,
But,
too funny.
Yeah,
But-
people get drinking. You never know what they're gonna do.
I know.
But we have fun anyway.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, this weekend should be fun. And yeah, we definitely hope to see a lot more people there, and
It should be a good time.
so yeah, and then yeah, we'll definitely come up with some new material and for the next week. And
Well, I'm Scott. I'm gonna have Scott on one of these. I don't know if it'll be this month yet. JC from Gala's Entertainment.
okay,
Talked to him today or yesterday, as I had Snapchatted. I'm like, well, I'm all ready. They're like, man, that's a cool setup. And I said, do you want to come over and sit down? So he's wedding DJ plus parties and all that other stuff. So
I want to bring Brady O'Brien on one of these times. I'd also mentioned to Peter Stockdale, Audible Farms podcast.
Oh, we'll just slide the table forward. We'll add another microphone
That's
and
what
have,
I figured.
have Pete come in.
Yeah, because he had commented on one of the videos and said, like to have you sit in, and he said sounds like a good time to me. And another creative, doing podcasting.
Yep.
He's also a guitar player, plays with Jesse Wilson all the time. And you and I both know Jesse, and so yeah, I always enjoy my time anytime I'm around Pete. So yeah, I'd just love to pick his brain about his podcasts and the different things that he's done with that. I've listened to quite a few of them, because he's had a lot of our friends on that podcast, and the different circles that we run in. So I think this winter we'll definitely get some very interesting people in and talk to them, and maybe some other photographers, pull them in. I know we're going to be doing some more stuff with Chris and Derek, and I want to include some of my film guys down in Des Moines.
And then because I know Chris messaged today about going in and developing some film.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do that, since I'm going to be part of the process, I'm going to film some of that. And we'll just talk about that.
You got to roll a film. That
I have like 2 because there's that other camera in there.
Okay.
I got to go finish shooting 2. So maybe I'll do something with that. So
and even if you don't get them both finished,
but we need to actually include that because I know we included a bunch of images in the last video.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I missed some, but time crunch and like just the amount of time that it took to edit that stupid video.
It's 2 hours of video and 4 people and images.
It took a lot. And then getting the images, and then some of them that I had put in the Facebook group were too small, and then I had to go back to Flickr and download stuff and do all that other shit. So, but such is life, and that is the life that I chose. So, but anyway, I hope everybody has a fantastic day, evening, morning, whatever you got going on, and I appreciate you listening if you have made it this far with us. But I can't thank you guys enough. You guys have all started following us. So you get us on YouTube and on Facebook, and you guys have all been a big support. And in the meantime, if there's anything that you want us to talk about, let us know. We still have yet to have anybody tell us. The other thing is that if anybody wants to hire Jason or me or us for anything, let us know, and we will be happy
of any kind.
Yep, to take care of that. But in the meantime, I'm Tim.
I'm Jason.
And this is Exposed.
See you guys.
Deuces, deuces, deuces. Drink it up. Glug, glug.
I've just got the water, so just don't drown.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers to beers.
Just don't drown.
Just don't drown.
Yeah, because my new deal, I was going to kind of talk about it a little bit, but I kind of forgot. But as I start getting involved with that new lens that I got, that one I picked up off of Derek, that should be fun.
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
It still is on. Oh, there it goes.